Welcome back, students. Let's get started quickly with HTML5 and CSS3. And today, most probably, will be the last class of the session, right? We'll be starting with the 31st session of HTML5 and CSS3. And today, I will show you the most important part, that is geolocations, as promised, right? So, canvas is done and bar chart is done. So, let's get started with geolocation. The first thing that we have to do, I'll have to download a file known as jQuery, right? What is jQuery? So I'll say go and download jQuery, right? Okay, so I'll download jQuery min.js. I'll go to jQuery.com. And you'll find it somewhere. This is the code https jQuery.com right here. So you can download the JavaScript. This is basically the library that we will download. jQuery 3.5.1 min.js will be downloaded, right? Alright, so let's go and open a new file. And I will create a new file, which is a new JavaScript file. Right, if you do not have Dreamweaver, if you are using the plain notepad, you paste the content inside notepad, but yeah, do not forget to save the file as JavaScript file with the .js extension, right? I'll save this file as JavaScript file with .js extension. I call this a jQuery, right? 3.5.0 min. It's already there, so I already downloaded jQuery 3.5.0 min, so I'll use the same. It's 3.5.1, so let us save 3.1.1 also. So let me go to JS and save 3.5.1.min, right? .js, right? All right. So now it depends on you, right? Purely on you what JavaScript file you want to use. You have both available. I'll go in the head section and I'll say script, right? So I'll plain say script type is equal to text slash JavaScript and src the source of the JavaScript, which is jQuery 5.0 3.5.0 or 3.5.0.1. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can use both. You can download any jQuery file. Any jQuery file can work. So canvas is not required. Nothing is required. So I'll simply go ahead and say, for example, location grabbing. You know that every time you go to Amazon, you go to different sites, they show you, even if you Google, they'll show you the results as per your own location if your browser location services are on. Right, so this is what we are going to learn today: how to grab the location of the user, right? Where the or the client, where the client is accessing website from. Is that clear? So let's say geolocation API. We are going to use geolocation API. What is API? Application Programming Interface, right? By NIIT, right? As simple as anything. Okay. Let's go and quickly start. Okay, let me have this. Let me have an HTML5 button, right? So I'll have this button, separate closing button, and I'll say show location, right? And now what I'll do right here, it's going to use an API online, and for this you need an active internet connection, right? And I will call a function on click. So on click, I will be calling a function get my location, right? Better to just say JavaScript get my location. So I'll go in the script tags, right, and immediately create a function and name it get my location. And just to check the operations, I will do nothing but alert. Is that simple? Isn't that simple? Okay. Let me reload it. Show location. Alert comes. So now first part successful, right? And let me see whether the JavaScript file has been incorporated or not. I'll just click here. Yeah, it's also included. The jQuery file is included. Every single thing is fine. So let's get going. So now whenever you click on the button, an event is generated and get my location is called. And the first thing that we are going to do in the location, let's declare a variable, right? So for example, y var, let's say about output. So where do you want to show output? So I'll just go ahead inside the body tag. I will create a div id is equal to output di v, and I will close it down. So I'll say var, let's call this as out put. So I'll say is equal to document document dot get element by id output div, right? And I will close it down, right? Or you can say output just to test everything is working fine. I'll say document output dot inner HTML is equal to testing. So these are the testing times. So once you say testing, reload. Okay, now you're getting testing. So it is going to be better if I hit, say, BR, break line, and break another line so that you go to next line, right? So now testing is coming. So now second test is also successful. Just get rid of this. All right. So now this is your output. Okay, so let me keep this output right here outside the function, because we can still access this outside the function as well. So I don't need to keep it inside the function. So now I will use the navigator object. Right, so I will use the navigator object to get geolocation, right? So I'll say navigator.get navigator.geolocation. If navigator.geolocation is available, right, do this. Else what you got to do is this, right? So I will say output. What is output? That's a div dot inner HTML is equal to working. Just try if everything else is working fine or everything else is not working fine. So I'll say browser not supported. Now we'll have to first see whether geolocations are supported by your browser. In case if they're not supported by your browser, you'll get a warning. So let's get going and see. Yeah, it's working. Now if I go here, you can clearly see you're viewing a local shared folder. So it's absolutely working fine, right? Okay, so you're getting working. Else, if there's no support of geolocation, you'll get browser not supported. Let's get rid of this. I will say navigator dot geolocation. I call geolocation with the help of navigator object, which is readily available, and I want to get the current position of anyone, right? So it is basically high-end functions here. So we're calling another function here. So we'll have to call another function right here, right? And let's call this function as function get position. So I'm calling this function get position and taking one parameter as position. Right, so this function accepts one parameter or one argument. So that's the position. What is the position? You are getting the position. Navigator.geolocation.get current position is going to call a function internally, right? So it's as similar as delegates and events in C hash, right? And here what I go and pass get position. So I call this function right here. Get position, right? So now whenever we get the position, this function here is called. So I'll say alert, for example. Let's see if everything is working fine. We should be able to see the alert. And if, yeah, now you can see file wants to know your location. Now your browser knows that the browser that you're accessing or the site you're accessing wants to grab your location or wants to get your location. Do you want to allow or do you want to block? So I'll allow, right? And alert. Now you can clearly see alert is coming. That means the function has been accessed, right? Without any joke, this function has been accessed. Now we can easily say, I'll say output. What is output? This is document.get element by id output div. So I'll say dot inner HTML document, right? So I'll say we get two different things. First we get the latitude and then we get the longitude. So in geolocations, so first get the latitude, and I'll say latitude is equivalent to, and this will be dynamic, completely dynamic, right? And I will concatenate and I'll say this position, I'll call this position, right? And I'll say position dot coords. What is coords? It's basically coordinates. Coordinates. That's why we say in short, coords means coordinates. Get coordinates on the position, right? And what do you want to get out of the coordinates, right? I want to get the latitude. 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 Did I spell it right? Maybe. Yeah, I spelled it right. Right, so you are getting the latitude. Now let's see whether we'll be able to get latitude or not. Right, I'll say allow. Now this is my latitude. This is where I'm accessing, right, the website from. I'm accessing this website from this address, right? So if we are able to get the latitude, we should be able to get the longitude as well, right? So let's try and get the longitude. So I'll say L-O-N longitude. Longitude. Did I spell it right? And maybe I spell it right. So let's see. Longitude. 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 And as well as latitude. Okay, but I have to say plus is equivalent to, instead of this is equivalent to right here, because I have to keep the previous record intact and then I'll have to add a new record. That's why I'll have to type plus is equivalent to, means concatenation again. Yeah, allow. Latitude is this and my longitude is this. As simple as anything. Now see the magic of geolocations, right? I'll do one more thing. I'll just try and hit, I'll say plus, and I will concatenate it with BR. So I want to get latitude on line number 1 and I want to get longitude on line number 2. So let's try again. Do you want? Yes, this is my latitude and this is my longitude. Now wait a second. Now we'll have to use API. Now then we have been able to grab the latitude and the longitude of the client, right? So now we'll have to use the geolocation API of jQuery in JavaScript in order to get the current location, right? And to achieve that, what am I going to do? We know that we are having two HTTP verbs. One is get and another is post, right? And I will be using jQuery or AJAX to call get, right? So get is by default. Whenever you load the website, what do you call? You call HTTP get, right? For example, when you hit the login button, you may call post and vice versa and so on and so forth. All right, and let's go ahead and call get on the URL. So I don't know the URL, so I'll have to see the API. So it's basically maps.google. It's basically maps.googleapis.com. google.apis.com, maps.googleapis.com. Yeah, and we have that maps API geocode JSON, and I'll have to supply the latitude and the longitude. So this is the URL, right? You can clearly see the URL right here. I'll share the URL with you, don't worry. Or you can Google just like I Googled, right? So I say I want to call $get, right? And I want to call this $get on the URL, which will be mentioned right here. So I'm going to write the URL, right? You want to call get on the URL, and this is the URL that you want to call. And what is this question mark? You're going to supply coordinates here, right? That is latLng. So this is the parameter that this Google API's website accepts. Right? The parameter name is latLng, means lat-long, latitude and longitude, right? And I will say is equivalent to plus. Now you pass dynamic data, which is going to be your latitude and your latitude would be this position, right? So latitude would be position dot coords dot latitude, and you will say plus, try and concatenate it, hit comma, plus position dot coords dot longitude, right? So I'll have to say position dot coords dot latitude and position dot coords dot longitude is what I supply, right, to this is the URL, right? And you'll have to say and sensor, sensor, right? I'll say sensor is equivalent to true, right? So my sensor is now true, and this is what I do, right? So I'll have to try this first. So let me first try, or we can even say, let's say about it returns two functions. One is the success function, another is the. All right, I had some disturbances, but now let me get basically we have mentioned the URL here. Now we need to see whether the URL is working, because we have to keep on debugging it, right? Alongside, right? So let's say about URL. I mentioned this URL here, but let us say I am not posting this URL directly here. So let me take it. Let me go and let's say var, right, API. So this is the access point, we can say application programming interface, Google's API. So this address, I will just, instead of getting it at the first go, why don't I do something like this? So get position is outside. So we have this outside, this get position. And we will be printing this position to see whether the JSON data is received from the URL, right? We'll try and retrieve this JSON URL data. As soon as we receive the JSON URL data, we'll get going with this, right? So let's see first. Okay, we are saying, let me basically try and print it here. So let me say output dot inner HTML plus is equivalent to this data, or we can say, okay, directly this. Let me go ahead with this. Okay, let me see what do we get. All right, so let's see. We should be able to get the jar file, so that's what we are trying to access. Right, so I am trying to access the jar, the JSON file. So allow, yeah, now this is here, this is the URL, latLng has come, sensor is equal to true, and to debug you just type it, right, no, request denied. You must use an API key to authenticate each request to the Google Map Platforms API. Yeah, that is quite true. I have to use the key, but that's again, I'll have to see what has to be done with this, because I am getting status request denied. So I have to get maps. So let me see API geocode. Okay, Google APIs, and I get JSON geocode, and then latLng is equal to this, and let's say about comma, is it comma, this, and sensor SEN, and sensor is equivalent to true. So I have to first see this, authenticate each request. So let me first try something else. I'm not getting it right. So okay, let me take this var API. Let me take it away. Let me position it somewhere, and let me call the $.get. Alright, so I'll be calling $.get, and this is how we use $.get. This is basically calling the HTTP verb get on the URL. And what is the URL? That's API. So URL is given, that is API, and it returns the success function. So the moment it returns the success function, it returns data back to you. So we will have to see what data is returned back, right, from this API URL. Simple. We have this URL here and we're getting the latitude and longitude. We're supplying the same latitude and longitude to the Google API and running the get. And now I'm supplying this URL. Please give me something back, and whatever is returned by this URL will go in this data, right? Whatever this URL return will go in this data. It can be anything. D, it's basically you are returning and you are grabbing it. Name can be anything. Name is not an issue. So I can say console.log. So let me see first what are we getting back. So we'll have to see it, and it's very important to see the thing that we are getting back at this moment in time. All right, so let me refresh it, inspect element, right, and go to the console. Okay, position is not defined. What position is it talking of? What position are you talking about? Position.chords.latitude. Yeah, position is not defined here. Okay, so I'll have to keep it in the function, right? Get position. So I'll have to keep it inside the function get position, right? So let me keep it here inside the function get position. Okay, let me reload it. Now everything is fine. I'll say show location, allow latLong has been, yeah, we are getting the latitude and longitude. So but here we are having null has been blocked by cost policy cross, or your requests are only supported by protocol schemas and Chrome extensions HTTP. The file, okay, we are failing it somehow. I don't know whether it's supported by this or not. I'll use 3.5.1. So let me use 3.5.1. Inspect element. Go to console and say show location, allow. Yeah, now we are getting an error message. You must use an API key to authenticate each request. Please load this. So now array 0 status request denied. So now that's fine. So 3.1 and you have to also use 3.5.1. We have just seen 3.5.1. So now instead of using console.log, right, what I will do right here is option dot inner, what's this, output, what's option I have to use, output dot inner HTML. Let's use output dot inner HTML is equivalent to, right, data. Now you can clearly see console pay, right? You can clearly see if I go to the console, and you can clearly see we are getting an error, right, and we are getting results, right? So array 0. So we will target the 0th position of the array, right? What are we getting? Results. Now you can clearly see an array has been returned, and the array has few things right here. So I'll try and do this. I'll get the 0th element of the array being displayed. Let's display the 0th element of the array. I will say show location and allow. Now you can say that you're getting undefined, right? So why are we getting undefined, right? So far every single thing is fine. So we have been able to do everything fine, right? So geolocation is doing good. So current position, everything is fine, except from the fact we have to supply the key right here. All right. So navigator.geolocation. So let me try from the beginning. If anything went wrong, what went wrong? No, nothing is wrong. So I'll call the navigator object and say geolocation.get current position, and you call this get position, and it's absolutely working fine. Now we go to API. All right, and this is the API that we are using, and even API is fine, right? So API even does not have any problem, right? So it's also good, right? And successful, everything is fine. So just we have to get the key now, right? So let's see what are we getting. Yeah, you must use an API key, right? So let me just copy this, copy property path, right? Or constructor has come, right? And there are many different properties that we have got, right? Result is quite empty this time, prototype is empty, concatenation is empty, argument scholar, so it's absolutely empty. So I'll go and see this. Let me see if I can get the key. Just wait a second. Yeah, we have this. I found this article right here because it was not earlier. Now Google has perhaps added some API keys. We'll have to supply some API keys in order to get access to Google API. So this is the help that they are providing us, right? So for that, I'll have to load the Google platform. That's cloud.google.com. I repeat, cloud console.cloud. It's here, console.cloud.google.com. So I'll share this link as well. So console dot, you can see it, cloud.google.com. You clearly go to cloud.google.com. You can directly go to cloud, cloud.google.com, and the moment you access cloud.google.com, right, so you can say, right, get started for free. So you're going to be redirected to console.cloud.google.com, right? Now you can clearly see here, right? Or you can go to this directly, right, after signing in. So you can go to APIs. You can clearly see APIs from the LHS, right, left hand side, and you'll have to say create project. That's what it says. After creating the project, I'll just keep it 1457, right? And after creating the project, okay, let it create the project first. I'll have to say credentials, API keys, the API key, and click close, right? Yeah. Add an API key to the request. Now we can add an API key to the request, right? And now let us see if I can add an API key. Okay, this is geolocation API. Click on the geolocation API. I'll say enable. There are some pricings as well, but I don't have to do this. All right, so let me see credentials. What did it say? Developer, so you'll have to say on the credentials page, click create credentials, APIs and services. Okay, it's here, APIs and services. Where's create credentials? Okay, it's here. Credentials is here. I can see that. It's here. Credentials. Okay, the moment I go to credentials, maybe the credentials are being created or they are being loaded, right? And then what we do is on the credentials page, click on create credentials. Where's create credentials? Credentials in API services. Okay, geolocation API. So let's create credentials. I do not see this. Yeah, they keep on changing the user interface. On the credentials page, click create credentials dash API key. Okay, create credentials. It's here. Okay. Now it's here. Create credentials. You can find it here. Yeah, it's here. APIs keys, creating an API key, and this is an API key that I have to use, right? So just say close and go, right? And key is equal to, so maybe I'll have to supply this and key is equal to the key. So let me supply the key as well. So I'll go ahead and say, right, sensor is equal to this and key is equal to this. So let's see what happens now. And key is equal to the key that I have got, right? And why did I get an error right here? So I'll have to use it like this. Okay, and key is equal to the key that I have just created. And let us see the result. Now go to inspect element, go to sources, console, and say show location, allow, yes. This API project is not authorized to use this API. I don't know. This API project is not authorized to use this API. So it is request is denied. Why is the request denied? Right, so I'll have to, this API project is not authorized to use this API. Maybe we have to use some other tricks. Okay, let me see this first. Let me print it out also instead of console also. So I will say var API to be printed. So I will say output dot inner HTML plus is equivalent to API. So let me see the API also. What do I get? And see the error. And see how we can. Okay, it's here. And key is equivalent to this. So we carry on and see what do we get. Request denied. So we get this request denied. So I'll have to go back to the help file. JSON address is equivalent to this. Right, and I have to get the address first, I suppose to. Yeah, but we will not be able to get the address. Okay. Get API keys overview. Get an API key. We got an API key. How do you add an API key to your request? You must include an API key with every geocoding API. In the following example, replace your API key with your API key, right? And key is equivalent to your key. Let me see this here. Sensor is equivalent to true will be taken off and key will be kept no. Alright, so I'm not getting the complete latitude and longitude. And latLng, that's absolutely fine. lat, so we're getting this something like this. So let me first try this. Let me first try this URL to get the key. Take the key and see whether we get any result or not. This API project is not authorized to use this API. That means we're not authorized. Maybe we have not done anything here. So I'll have to see how to get that authorization. Yeah, I can clearly see it's unrestricted to prevent unauthorized use and quota. So it is not restricted. So why is it key? So let me go ahead and edit API key 1. Right, so application restrictions, don't restrict. So I'm not restricting the key, right? So I'm not restricting the key at all, right? API key, so I'm not restricting it. So there's no restriction, right? Why am I getting not authorized, right? So let me check and pause the. Yeah, now everything is perfectly all right. What we have to do now, we have to copy the key and we have to use it in the same way. What we forgot to go into the library, right? We'll click the library. I repeat, I'll show you again, right? After creating the credentials, I'll go in the library and you can see maps Java service, JavaScript API, because we're using a JavaScript API and I have not enabled it. You have to enable it, right? So after enabling it, we'll give it a try again. Right, so let it enable. After enabling it, we will again give it a try, right? So you should secure a new API. So we will secure it, don't worry. And now I'll go and check it out again right here. So let me test, show location, allow. Right, this API is not authorized to use. This API project is not authorized to use. This request denied again. So we're still getting request denied. I will use this latitude, longitude. Sensor is equal to true. Okay, let me use the key again. So let me try it again. Okay. Alright, so let me go and hit okay, fine, I forgot it. So it is copy, paste. Okay, not authorized. So sensor is equal to true will be taken out and key. Yeah, we're still getting this and key and still getting request is denied. I don't know why is this request denied. Have we enabled it? Yeah, we have enabled it completely, I suppose. Yes, we have enabled it for graphs, so maps. So let's say secure your credentials. How do you secure the credentials? So it's API key 1. Okay. Restriction, then application, you can set an application restriction per key. Don't restrict key. Select APIs, so I will restrict it to maps.javascript API, right? And JSON is also there, right? So let me, cloud storage and every single thing is not allowed, so I'll say okay, right? So I'll say activate. No, I don't have to activate it because I'm running a trial version, right? So now I will say restrict, or I will say HTTP refers websites, right? We are going to run it only on HTTP, or we can go restrict key, right? And let's say save. Let's keep it available for only HTTP websites, right? Now you still have this error, secure credentials. I'll have to secure the credentials again. Okay, so I'll say restrict to the key. Select APIs that I'm going to restrict my key for is JavaScript and geolocation APIs, right? Okay, let's say save. Note, it may take up to 5 minutes for the settings to take effect. That do I have to wait for 5 minutes then, right? Alright, it has been enabled, so let me try again. Maybe we'll have to wait for 5 minutes then, right? As it's saying that you have to wait for 5 minutes, so maybe then we'll wait for 5 minutes. Who knows? Yeah, we'll have to wait for 5 minutes. Let's wait for 5 minutes. Alright, so I have seen that error. Basically, what an error is, we had not enabled many different things. So I'll go and click the menu bar. They changed many different things right here, and I'll go to APIs and I'll go to the library, right? So you have to enable geolocation as well, right? So now you can see geolocation API, I had to enable this. So we have to enable two APIs, one JavaScript API and then geolocation enabled API, right? So the moment you enable this geolocation API, right, you will go to the credentials. Right, after you go to the credentials, right, you have many different credentials right here, right? So you have to go to, let's first go to the dashboard, right? All right, so there are no errors. Okay, now one thing is active, right? And I'll go to credentials, right? Now you can see your credentials right here. Okay, so even if you want to create a new credential, you can create a new credential. All right, so you can create a new credential. All right, so that's also possible. You created 3 credentials now, or you can delete the credentials that are not required. So let me delete both of them. So I'll delete. All right, type in this text delete. So I'll type delete. And I will delete this DLETE as well. So now this is my credential right here. So I'll copy this API. I will directly go and paste this API right here, right? And I'll save this, right? So now let us go and see, because we have enabled geolocation. I'll just refresh this. Inspect element, go to the console. Show location, I'll say allow. Now you have enabled it. Now you must enable billing on the Google Cloud project. Now everything is done. You are able to get. Now you, after you enable billing, you will get an array. You will get an array of things with each and everything, the area that you are visiting from, and each and everything Google is going to give you. Now you can enable the free trial, but still you'll have to ensure that you're entering the credentials and you're entering your credit card number. So this is how you enable, right? This is how you enable billing. So you have enabled billing. No auto charge after free trial ends. So you get 300 credit for free for next 12 months. So that means you can earn for 12 months free. What you have to do, only provide all the information and plus your credit card number. You can see credit card number is also required, right? They are not going to deduct automatically, right? So my case, it's not working since the lockdown. I haven't configured it yet, right? And that's it what we had to learn, and that's what we had to do. Now after you configure it, because now you are not getting any warning, you're not getting access denied, and then what you want to do, take data 0 and then see what you are getting, take data 1 and see what you are getting, take data 2 and 3 and 4 and see the rest of the things that you will be getting, inshallah, right? So I hope this is clear and you have understood this part of geolocations, and that concludes your session, right? And don't tell me that you haven't gotten, you got the latitude and longitude, and now what you need to get is data, array of data, right, from the Google API. That's only going to come when once you enable the billing, right? Once you enable the billing, array is retrieved. You can retrieve any object from an array, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? For example, area is going to be 0 or it's going to be 1, right? So you are going to retrieve it afterwards, and nothing else has to be done with the source code now. The source code portion is done. Only billing has to be enabled from here in order to work with geolocation, right? So that's it for your session, right? So I wish you all the best. So we'll be starting soon your session of responsive web application designing. Until then, goodbye. See you. Take care of yourself and do pray for me. Bye-bye.